Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. And today we'll be discussing the theory related to chapter Human Reproduction. So, this is the part 6 of the session. Now, before starting this lecture, I just want to give you one information that the images, text, and other materials used in our presentations are for education purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathee@itk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please note that parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is experimental. So, what are the objective of today's session? What we will learn, what we will understand in today's session? So, first we will understand the process of fertilization. Now, what is fertilization? It is the fusion of the male and the female gamete. So, male gamete is the sperm, female gamete is the ovum. So, you can see here fertilization is fusion of the sperm and the ovum, and after the fertilization, a diploid structure known as zygote is formed, and its fertilization occurs in the ampullary region. So we will understand how the fertilization occurs. Then we'll learn about the capacitation of the sperm and acrosomal reaction during the fertilization. So we will understand the importance of capacitation of the sperm, what is the importance of acrosomal reaction during the fertilization. Then we'll talk about the cleavage and formation of blastocysts from the zygote. So when the zygote is formed, then from the zygote, blastocyst is formed. Okay, so we'll have a look at this also, how the blastocyst is formed. Then we'll understand the process of implantation, which is the attachment of blastocyst to the endometrium, and it occurs around after 7th day of fertilization, or it occurs, you can say, around 7th day of fertilization. Let's talk about this topic, fertilization and implantation. So we'll talk about the fusion of the male and the female gamete, which is fertilization, and how the blastocyst gets attached to the endometrium. So we'll talk about fertilization and implantation. Then we'll summarize this entire lecture. Okay, and then we'll also discuss the DPP related to this topic. Let's talk about the fertilization now. What is fertilization? Fertilization is the fusion of the male and the female gametes. During copulation, or you can say coitus. Coitus means sexual intercourse. Semen is released by the penis into the vagina, and this process is known as insemination. Okay. So semen, it consists of the sperms. Semen is released by the penis into the vagina. Okay, and scientific term given to this process is insemination. Means the transfer of the sperms into the female genital tract. This is known as the insemination. So penis, it is made up of special tissues which helps in the erection of the penis. This erection is very important for the process of insemination. Now the motile sperms, sperms, they have a tail. When we read about the structure of the sperm, okay, we read that the sperm has a head, okay, then neck, then middle piece, and then tail. Tails help the sperm to move. It provides motility. So the motile sperm, they swim rapidly, they pass through the cervix and they enter into the uterus, and they finally reach the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. So this is how the sperms travel after the insemination. So when they are released in the vagina, then they will travel through the cervix, then to the uterus, and then finally they reach the fallopian tube. And which region of the fallopian tube? Ampullary region. The fallopian tube, okay, it has three regions. Okay, it has three regions: infundibulum, ampulla, and the isthmus. So now the sperm, they are reaching which region of the fallopian tube? In the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Okay. Now the ovum released by the ovary is also transported to the ampullary region where fertilization takes place. Now ovaries, they release egg. Okay, they release one egg. Okay, during the menstrual cycle. Okay. This egg also reaches the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Now both the gametes are present in the ampullary region. And when this happens, then there is the fertilization of the male and the female gamete, means there is the fusion of the sperm and the egg. So you can see here what is the site of fertilization. Site of fertilization is the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. So if only sperm is there, and if there is no egg, or if there is only egg and if there is no sperm, then fertilization will not occur. And there will be no pregnancy. Clear? That's why all coitus, all sexual intercourse does not lead to pregnancy. Clear? Sometimes the sperm is there, the egg is not there, or vice versa is happening. For the fertilization, both the gametes should be present in the same area. That's why not all coitus leads to pregnancy. So here you can see fertilization process has been shown here. So this is the ovum, and the sperms, they are heading towards the ovum, which is the egg, female gamete. This is the sperm, this is the head of the sperms. Okay, then neck, then middle piece, and this is the tail. Sperms, they are motile, they can move. Fertilization can only occur if the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to the ampullary region. Okay, both the gametes should be present in the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Now, this is the reason why not all copulations lead to fertilization and pregnancy. Okay. So now you know why not all copulations lead to fertilization and pregnancy. The process of fusion of the sperm with an ovum is called fertilization. What is fertilization? Fusion of the sperm with the ovum. This is known as fertilization. So here you can see, again, we have discussed this figure. Here they have shown you that the sperms, they are approaching the egg, but only one sperm is able to fertilize the egg. During fertilization, sperms come in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ovum. So ovum has, you can say, how many layers? So the outermost layer of the ovum, this is known as the corona radiata. Okay. This corona radiata, it is made up of the granulosa cells, also known as the follicular cells. Okay. Then inner to corona radiata is present the zona pellucida. Okay. This zona pellucida is a thick glycoprotein membrane, and it protects the egg. Clear? And it is also important for the sperm recognition. So here the sperm is coming in contact with which layer? Zona pellucida. Okay. Then inner to zona pellucida is present plasma membrane, also known as the cell membrane. And the space between zona pellucida and the plasma membrane, this is known as perivitelline space. Okay. So during fertilization, what is happening? The sperm come in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ovum and induces a changes in the membrane that block the entry of the additional sperms. Now millions of sperms are released by the male, but only one sperm is able to fertilize the egg. So how is this possible? So when the sperm come in contact with the zona pellucida, then there is a changes in the membrane of the ovum, and this blocks the entry of the additional sperms. And this is how polyspermy is prevented. So this ensures that only one sperm can fertilize an ovum. Okay, so only one sperm should fertilize the ovum so that the zygote form should be diploid. Now the secretions of the acrosome help the sperm enter into the cytoplasm of the ovum through the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane. Okay. So we know what was acrosome. The acrosome was present at the anterior end of the head, and these acrosomes, they consist of enzymes like hyaluronidase and necrosin. These enzymes help in the breakdown of the, you can say, ovum's membrane, and helps in the fertilization. So the secretion of the acrosomes, which are basically enzymes, they help the sperm enter into the cytoplasm of the egg through the zona pellucida. So they, you can say, lead to the breakdown of the zona pellucida as well as the plasma membrane, so that the sperm can enter the ovum. Sperm can reach the cytoplasm of the ovum. In the cytoplasm, the nucleus of the ovum is present, and then the nucleus of the sperm and the ovum, they fuse together to form a diploid structure. The nucleus consists of the genetic material. So now you can see the genetic material is combining, and this is also a source of variation. Okay. Gametes are formed by meiosis, and meiosis involved recombination and crossing over. This is also a source of variation. Okay. So here you should know about the capacitation of the sperm and the acrosome reaction. Now, what is capacitation of the sperm? So, capacitation of sperm, first of all, remember it occurs in the female genital tract. So, it is a physiological process which occurs in the female reproductive system. And what is the advantage of capacitation? Okay. It makes the sperm capable of fertilizing the egg. Certain physiological changes occur in the sperm which help or which makes the sperm, okay, or which make the sperm capable of fertilizing the egg. Now it can fertilize the egg. After capacitation, acrosome reaction occurs. So you can write about acrosome reaction. It occurs up after the capacitation. And acrosome reaction is triggered by the contact with the zona pellucida. When the sperm comes in contact with zona pellucida, then the acrosome reaction is triggered. And triggering of acrosome reaction means the enzymes are released from the acrosome, which helps in the breakdown of the zona pellucida as well as the plasma membrane, and it helps the sperm to enter into the cytoplasm of the ovum where the nucleus is present. All right. Enzyme present in acrosome are hyaluronidase and necrosin. So this acrosome reaction, it helps the sperm to penetrate the egg. Means it helps in the fertilization. Okay. Now you can see here, this is the ovum surrounded by the few sperms. So some layers you can see here, they have shown you the layers of the ovum. These are the cells of the corona radiata. Okay, it is the outermost layer. It is made up of follicular cells, also known as the granulosa cells. These follicle cells or granulosa cells, they provide nutrition to the egg. Then inner to corona radiata is zona pellucida. Zona pellucida is a thick glycoprotein layer. Okay. Then inner to zona pellucida is the plasma membrane. And This is the perivitelline space. It is the space between zona pellucida and the plasma membrane. Okay. Here, so here you can see again the sperms are approaching. This is the image showing you ovum surrounded by few sperms, but only one sperm will be able to fertilize the egg. So whenever the sperm comes in contact with the zona pellucida, then there are some changes in the membrane of the egg, which prevents the entry of other sperm. So it prevents polyspermy. And whenever the sperm come in contact with zona pellucida, then the acrosome reaction is triggered, okay, which helps in the fertilization. This induces the completion of meiotic division of the secondary oocyte. So whenever the sperms comes in contact with the zona pellucida, then you can see a lot of things are happening. The acrosome reaction is occurring. Okay. Then the secondary oocyte, which was arrested at the metaphase 2 of the meiosis 2, the secondary oocyte also completes its meiosis 2. Okay, it completes its second meiotic division. And secondary oocyte will then form the ovum and the second polar body. So you can see here, first polar body was formed after meiosis 1, second polar body is formed after the meiosis 2. Now the second meiotic division is also unequal and results in the formation of second polar body and a haploid ovum known as the oocyte. Like primary oocyte was arrested in the prophase 1 of meiosis 1, here secondary oocyte is arrested in the metaphase 2 of the meiosis 2. Okay. And whenever the sperm come in contact with the zona pellucida, this initiate the completion of the meiosis 2 of the secondary oocyte. And this division is also unequal. Unequal means a large ovum is formed and a small second polar body is formed, tiny second polar body is formed. So major of the cytoplasm, the bulk of the cytoplasm of secondary oocyte remains with the ovum and only small amount of cytoplasm remains with the second polar body. Okay, now why this occurs? Why bulk of, you can say, cytoplasm remains with the ovum? So this is happening because the ovum has to further form the embryo. Okay. For the development of the embryo, for the early development of embryo, cytoplasm is required because cytoplasm consists of a lot of cell organelles, it consists a lot of nutrients which are required by the early embryo. Okay. A tiny second polar body is formed which will degenerate later. Okay. So these meiotic divisions, they are unequal in case of oogenesis. And the primary oocyte is also arrested, secondary oocyte is also arrested. Okay, so you should remember when the primary oocyte will start dividing and when the secondary oocyte will resume its division. So now the oocyte or the ovum which is formed, obviously it will be haploid. Means it will have n number of chromosomes, means one set of chromosome, means it will have 23 chromosomes. Okay, second polar body will also be haploid. Yes, now soon the haploid nucleus of the sperm and that of the ovum fuse together to form the diploid zygote. So you can see here now what is happening. Sperm has, you can say, penetrated the layers of the secondary oocyte. Now the ovum is also has been formed. Now the nucleus of the sperm fuses with the nucleus of the ovum. And a diploid zygote is formed. Zygote, it is 2n. Means in case of humans, it will contain 46 chromosomes. Okay, it has two sets of chromosomes. Clear? So now zygote is formed. So you can see the chromosome number is, you can say, restored now. So this is the significance of meiosis also, that the chromosome number of the species is restored by the formation of haploid gametes. The sperms and ovum, these are both haploid, means they have n number of chromosomes. So again, you can see we have studied, this is the ovum surrounded by few sperms. They've shown you the corona radiata, zona pellucida, perivitelline space. This is the ovum in the center. Then only one of the sperm is able to fertilize the egg. Because as soon as the egg come in contact with the zona pellucida, there are some changes in the membrane of the egg which prevents the polyspermy. This is a question here. How many chromosomes will be there in the zygote? The zygote is 2n. Means it is a diploid structure. So how many chromosomes will be there? So let's have a look at the answer for this question. Zygote will have 46 chromosomes, means it will have 23 pair of chromosomes. Humans, they have 46 chromosomes, means they have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Let's have a look at the explanation now. A zygote is formed by the fusion of the two gametes. These two gametes, they are haploid. Now, in sexual reproduction, what happens? Two parents are involved, male and the female. They will produce gametes which will be haploid. Because these gametes are produced by meiosis. Then there is the fusion of these two gametes, which is known as fertilization. After fertilization, a diploid structure known as zygote is formed. Zygote is a unicellular diploid structure. And you can say it is so fascinating that from the zygote, then a new individual is formed. From zygote, embryo is formed, and from the embryo, new individual is formed. Sperm cell, which is the male gamete, contains 23 chromosomes, means it is haploid. It has n number of chromosomes, only one set of chromosome. And egg cell, which is female gamete, contains 23 chromosomes, means again it will have n number of chromosome. And during fertilization, these gametes combine to form zygote. Okay. So 23 chromosomes will be coming from father, 23 chromosomes will be coming from mother. So in total, 46 chromosomes are present in the zygote. Okay. So you can say the genetic material of father and mother, it is combining together to form the diploid zygote. Okay, so zygote will have 46 chromosomes. So these 46 chromosomes form 23 pairs. So 23 into 2 is 46. Okay. So one pair is coming from mother, pair is coming from the father. So this is the normal diploid 2n chromosomes number in the human cells, which is maintained in most body cells throughout the mitotic cell division. Now, one has to remember that sex of the baby has been decided at this stage itself. So when the zygote is formed, then the sex of the baby has been already decided. So this is very important. You can get a question from here. At which stage the sex of the baby has been already decided? As you know, chromosome pattern in human female is XX and that of the male is XY. Okay. So females have a pair of X chromosome and males, they have X and Y chromosome. So zygote is diploid. So zygote can be either XX or it can be XY. Therefore, all the haploid gametes, which is ova, produced by the female have the sex chromosome X, whereas in the male gametes sperm, the sex chromosome could be either X or Y. Hence, 50% of the sperms carry the X chromosome, while the other 50% carry the Y chromosome. Okay. So sex of the child is determined by the father, not by the mother. Sperms, two kind of male gamete or two kind of sperms are formed. So this is known as heterogamety. Heterogamety is seen in human males. Because humans, because these males, they have X and Y chromosomes, where two types of gametes are formed, which is heterogamety. Half of the sperm will contain X chromosome, half of the sperm will contain Y chromosome. If the Y chromosome of the male fuses with the Y chromosome, fuses with the egg containing, you can say eggs will always contain X chromosome because females are XX. All the gametes in the females will have, all the eggs will have X chromosome only. Males are producing two kinds of gamete. So, if the male, you can say gamete, sperm, if the sperm carrying the X chromosome fertilizes the egg, then excess condition is observed in zygote and it will develop into female. If a male sperm, okay, if the male gamete, which is sperm, okay, it carries Y chromosome, and if it fuses with the egg, then in the zygote XY condition will be there and this will develop into the male. Okay, so things to remember here are that males, they are heterogametic, females, they are homogametic. Males, they have XY chromosome, females have XX chromosome. Males are producing two kinds of gametes. This is known as heterogamety. Females are producing one kind of gamete, means all the eggs will have X chromosome only. Okay. Then you can make different combination. If the sperm containing an X chromosome fertilizes with the you can say egg with which is having X chromosome, it will develop into female. If the sperm carrying X chromosome fuses with the egg having the X chromosome, then it will develop into male. Now, after fusion of the male and the female gamete, zygote would carry either the XX or SY depending on whether the sperm carrying X or Y fertilize the ovum. So egg will always contain X chromosome only. So sperm carrying X chromosome, when it fuses with the this egg containing X chromosome, XX condition will be there in zygote, it would develop into female. When the sperm having Y chromosome, it fuses with the ovum having X chromosome, it will develop into male. A zygote containing XX would develop into female baby and XY would form a male. That is why scientifically it is correct to say that sex of the baby is determined by the father and not by the mother. So usually the females were blamed for the sex of the child, but actually it is the male who determines the sex of the child because males are producing two kind of gametes. Okay, half of the gamete will contain X chromosome, half of the gamete will contain Y chromosome, whereas in female 100% of the gametes will have only X chromosome. Now let's begin with the implantation. Let's understand what is implantation. Now the mitotic divisions, which is also known as equational divisions, start as zygote moves through the isthmus of the oviduct. Okay, and these divisions in the zygote, they are known as cleavage. Here, so this mitotic division starts as the zygote is moving through the isthmus of the oviduct towards the uterus, and it forms 2, 4, 8, 16 daughter cells known as the blastomeres. So now zygote is formed. Okay, in this zygote, mitotic divisions occur. These mitotic divisions are equational divisions. Okay. Now these mitotic divisions, they are occurring when the zygote is moving through the isthmus towards the uterus now. Isthmus is the part of the fallopian tube, also known as the oviduct. Okay. Clear? So after this mitotic divisions, repeated mitotic division, which is known as cleavage. Okay. For initially 2 daughter cells are formed, then this is the 4 cell stage, this is the 8, and this is the 16. Okay, and these 2, 4, 8, 16 daughter cells, they are known as the blastomeres. Okay, so these blastomeres are formed after the mitotic divisions. The embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres is called as the morula. Okay. Now, you can see now the embryo starts developing. Embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres is called as the morula. Here you can see here in this image, this is the transport of the ovum, fertilization, and passage of the growing embryo through the fallopian tube. So here you can see the eggs, they are released by the ovaries. These are the ovaries. Eggs are released by the ovaries. These eggs are captured by the fimbriae, which is present in the infundibulum region. Okay, infundibulum is a funnel-shaped region which consists of finger-like projection known as the fimbriae. This fimbriae helps to capture the secondary, this ovum which is released, or the secondary oocyte which is released, or you can say ovum which is released. Okay, now you can see the egg is traveling from the infundibulum, okay, and it will finally reach the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Now sperms, they will travel from the vagina to cervix, okay, then from the cervix to uterus, and from the uterus to the fallopian tube. And which region of the fallopian tube? Ampullary region of the fallopian tube. So in the ampullary region of the fallopian tube, okay, what happens? There is a fusion of the male and the female gametes, means fertilization occur in the ampullary region. Ampullary region is the site of the fertilization. The ampullary region is a wider part. Okay, infundibulum, this is a funnel-shaped part. Isthmus, this consists of a narrow lumen, you can say. Here, they have shown you different stages here. Okay, clear? Now, embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres, this is known as the morula. When 8 to 16 blastomeres are present in an embryo, this stage is known as the morula. Now, the morula continues to divide and transform into blastocyst. So, blastocysts ultimately transformed into, this morula transforms into blastocyst. Okay. As it moves further into the uterus. Now, the blastomeres in the blastocyst are arranged in an outer layer called trophoblast and an inner group of cells attached to trophoblast called the inner cell mass. The trophoblast layer then gets attached to the endometrium, and the inner cell mass get differentiated as the embryo. So again, you can see in this image, these are ovaries, they are releasing the egg. Egg is captured, or the ovum is captured by the fimbriae of the fallopian, of the isthmus region of the fallopian tube. Then they reach the ampullary region where fertilization occurs. After the fertilization, a zygote is formed, which is diploid. In zygote, mitotic divisions occur, which is known as the cleavage. And then what happens? Embryo formation begins. So first of all, you can say here morula is formed. Okay, clear? Then morula continues to divide and transform into blastocyst. From morula, blastocyst is formed. Okay. Now, the blastomeres in the blastocyst, they are arranged in an outer layer, which is known as the trophoblast, and an inner group of cells attached to trophoblast called the inner cell mass. After attachment, the uterine cells divide rapidly and cover the blastocyst. Okay, so when the blastocyst gets attached to the uterine wall, which is the endometrium is the innermost wall of the uterus. Innermost, okay? Here. So in implantation, what happens? Blastocysts get attached to the endometrium. Clear? So, how will the blastocyst attach to the endometrium? So, or in what conditions? So this endometrium should be quite thick. Then only it will able to attach the blastocyst. As a result, blastocysts become embedded in the endometrium of the uterus. This process is known as implantation and leads to pregnancy. So what is implantation? Attachment of the blastocyst to the endometrium of the uterus. This is known as implantation. Okay. So again, this figure we have already discussed. This is the transport of the ovum, fertilization and passage of the growing embryo through the fallopian tube. Now, after fertilization in the ampullary region, zygote is formed. Then you can see morula is formed from the morula blasto. This is the morula. From the morula, blastocyst is formed. Blastocyst is attached to the endometrium, which is known as implantation. Okay. Clear? And implantation, it leads to pregnancy. So here you can see this is showing you the blastocyst implantation. Then what happens? Okay. Now the blastocyst has attached to the, you can say, endometrium. Now it will obtain nutrients from the endometrium. Okay. Now the blastocyst, we'll talk about that blastocyst consists of the blastocele also. Okay. And now the further development of the embryo will occur. Embryogenesis will occur, and finally the fetus will be ready in 9 months. So gestation period is 9 months in case of the human females. So blastocyst is what? Blastocyst is the pre-implantation stage of the embryonic development. Okay. Clear? This blastocyst consists of an inner cell mass, okay, which is a group of cells which is destined to become the fetus. It consists of a blastocele also, which is a fluid-filled cavity within the blastocyst. Okay, is clear? Now this blastocyst is attached to the, you can say, endometrium with the help of a trophoblast. So here let's discuss the summary now. Human fertilization occurs when a sperm fuses with an ovum in the fallopian tube's ampulla. The ampulla is the site of the fertilization, or you can say where the sperm and the egg fuse with each other. Then the sperm's acrosome help it penetrate the ovum's zona pellucida, triggering the ovum's final meiotic division. So when the sperms interact with the zona pellucida, then the, you can say, secondary oocyte completes its meiotic division, second meiotic division, and it forms ovum and a tiny second polar body. And this division is unequal. It means a large ovum is formed and a tiny polar body is formed. So bulk of the cytoplasm retains with the ovum, because ovum has to further form the embryo. So the cytoplasm contains a lot of nutrients and cell organelles which are important for the development of the early embryo. Now the zygote is formed. It will have 46 chromosomes, means 23 chromosomes are coming from each gamete. Okay, now male determines the sex of the baby. Females are XX and males they are XY. Okay, so father's sperms determine the sex of the child. Now, zygote, when it is formed, it undergoes cleavage and a morula is formed. From the morula, blastocyst is formed. And this blastocyst implants in the uterine endometrium, initiating the pregnancy. Blastocyst, we have already discussed, consists of inner cell mass. Okay, it consists of blastocele. Okay, and we have discussed the role of trophoblasts. So trophoblasts are specialized cells that form the outer layer of the blastocyst. So the blastocyst, the outer layer of the blastocyst is known as the trophoblast. And it consists of inner cell mass also, which will form the fetus, which will form the embryo or the fetus, you can say. Okay. Here, the trophoblasts help the blastocyst to attach to the endometrium. Okay. It helps in the implantation. It helps the embryo attach to the uterine wall. Okay. And to also provide nourishment to the developing embryo. Yeah. So now we have discussed the theory now. So we have discussed the fertilization and implantation today. Now let's discuss the DPP, which is related to this topic. So let's start with the first question here. Where does fertilization of the ovum by the sperm typically occurs in the female reproductive system? So where does the fusion of the male and the female gamete occurs? Fertilization means fusion of the male and the female gamete. So what is the site of fertilization they are asking? In the female reproductive system. So fertilization is internal in case of humans. Okay. What are the options here? Cervix, uterus, ampullary region of the fallopian tube, and vagina. So what will be the correct answer from these options? The correct answer will be ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Now, fallopian tube has three regions: infundibulum, ampulla, and the isthmus. So the egg which is formed, it reaches the ampullary region of the fallopian tube, and the sperm, it also travels and reaches the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. And then the fertilization occurs in the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. The sperms, they are motile, they can swim. So when they are released in the vagina, during the insemination, then what happens? The sperm, they travel from the vagina, then they reach the cervix. From the cervix, they enter into the uterus. And from the uterus, they finally enter into the fallopian tube and they reach the ampulla. Ampulla, if the ampullary region, you can say, consists of the egg also. If egg is present there, then the fertilization will occur. If there is no egg, then there will be no fertilization. There will be no pregnancy. So that's why not all copulation or coitus leads to pregnancy, because it is mandatory that the both sperm and the egg should be present in the same region. Then only fertilization can occur. Next question, what is the immediate result of the sperm contacting the zona pellucida of the ovum during fertilization? So when the sperm contacts the zona pellucida of the ovum during fertilization, then what happens? Or what is the result of this process? What does it leads to when the sperm comes in contact with the zona pellucida of the ovum? So ovum has layers. It is surrounded by some layers. Outermost is the corona radiata. Inner to corona radiata is the zona pellucida. Then inner to zona pellucida is the plasma membrane. Then is the perivitelline space, which is the space between the zona pellucida and the plasma membrane. So what are the options here? Option number 1 is completion of the first meiotic division of the ovum. Okay. They're talking about meiosis 1. First meiotic division means meiosis 1. Then next is the formation of the zygote. Option number C is the blockage of the additional sperm entry, means they are preventing polyspermy. And fourth is initiation of the implantation. What will be the correct answer? The correct answer will be option number C here, blockage of additional sperm entry. So when the sperm come in contact with zona pellucida, then there is a changes in the membrane of the ovum, and this prevents the entry of additional sperms, which means it prevents polyspermy. Next question, how is the sex of the baby determined during fertilization? Okay. So who determines the sex of the baby? Okay, so you know that the males have XY chromosome and the females have XX chromosomes. So males will form two kind of gametes. They are heterogametic. Female will form only one kind of gamete. They are homogametic. In males, half of the sperms will carry X chromosome, half the sperms will carry Y chromosome. In females, all the eggs will carry X chromosome only. So keeping this in mind, you have to answer the question. So what are the options? By the chromosome contribution from the mother. Second is by the chromosome contribution from the father. Third is by the number of chromosomes in the zygote. And fourth one by the implantation site in the uterus. What will the correct answer? The correct answer will be option number B here, by the chromosome contribution by the father. So father, okay, means male. They are producing two kind of gametes. If the sperm carrying X chromosome fertilizes with the egg, then female will develop. And if the sperm carrying Y chromosome, it fuses with the egg, then male will be. Then the zygote will have XY condition and male will be formed. Okay. Now, what structure is found when the embryo reaches the 18 to 16 blastomere stage? The embryo, when it consists of 18 to 16 blastomere, then the embryo at this stage is called what? Okay, so these blastomeres are formed by mitotic divisions. So when the zygote is formed, it undergoes repeated mitotic divisions, which is known as the cleavage. And from 2 cells, 4 cells are formed, 4 to 8 and 8 to 16 cells are formed. And the embryo consisting of 18 to 16 blastomeres, this is called what? Blastocyst, morula, trophoblast or zygote. What will be the correct answer here? Correct answer here will be morula. So morula, it consists of 18 to 16 blastomere. After morula, blastocyst is formed. So from zygote, morula is formed. From morula, blastocyst is formed. Okay, and then blastocyst. Okay, the outer layer of blastocyst is known as the trophoblast. Okay, which helps in the attachment of blastocyst to the uterine wall. Blastocyst also consists of the inner cell mass, which will develop into the fetus. It also consists of a blastocele, which is fluid-filled cavity. Next question, which layer of blastocyst attaches to the endometrium during the implantation? Okay. The blastocyst, it will attach to the endometrium, which is the innermost wall of the uterus. Okay, so which layer of blastocyst attaches to the endometrium during the implantation? What are the options? Inner cell mass, zona pellucida, trophoblast, or the blastocele? Correct answer will be trophoblast here. Okay, so the blastocyst consists of the inner cell mass, which will develop into the fetus. Zona pellucida, it is the thick glycoprotein layer, which is around the ovum, which is one of the layer of the ovum. Okay. The blastocyst seal is the fluid-filled cavity within the blastocyst. Yeah, so trophoblast, it is the outer layer of the blastocyst. It helps in the attachment of the blastocyst to the uterine wall. So this is the correct answer here. Option number C. Okay, so let's submit. We have submitted the answers now. We have discussed the DPP also. So all our answers are correct. This was the end of this session. I hope this session was quite knowledgeable for you. Thank you very much for listening.